Hi, this is Mrs. Anderson, and today's video is a continuation of the style notes from last class. So last class we discussed creative writing style, and this class we're going to be discussing analytical writing style. I wanted to remind you, like before, you can find this video on my YouTube channel, Anderson SF Lancer, so that you can rewatch it as many times as necessary. So what I wanted to begin with was a review of last class. Just a quick reminder of what I am talking about when I'm talking about writing style. To review, writing style is the technique that an individual author uses in his or her writing, and for our purposes in our class, we're focusing on the following style elements that I described for creative writing and will now describe for analytical writing. So that includes point of view, diction, imagery, sentence structure, tone, and literary devices. Hopefully you do remember that the kind of style that you are using depends upon the purpose of your writing. So let me remind you what are the two possible purposes that we will have in this class. So in our class this year, you will be writing both creatively and analytically. If you're writing creatively, your purpose is to entertain, to share human experiences, or to get some truth about humanity or humankind. If you're writing analytically, your purpose is to inform, to explain, or to offer an argument. And if you remember from last class, analytical writing will make up the bulk of writing in this class. Since analytical writing is such an important part of this course, those are the style notes that I'm going to present today. However, you will also notice that on the left-hand side of the page, you're going to see the creative style notes from last class. And hopefully this gives you the opportunity to see the differences between the two styles. If we begin with point of view, or the narrative style, notice that when you're discussing analytical writing style, you have a lot less choices than you did for creative. Where you could be a child, adult, animal, or object with creative writing, in analytical writing, you're intended to be a scholar, and you should be writing in third person present tense. The reason for present tense when you're discussing literature is because every time you open up the book, the event is happening again, grounding it in the present. Again, with diction, you can see with analytical writing, you have less choice. So in creative writing, you could be colloquial or you could be formal. But when you're writing analytically, you need to be formal, which means no contractions. So instead of isn't, you have to write out is not. And no cliches, because cliches are overused expressions, and you're trying to keep your writing as original as possible. In both analytical and creative writing, it's important to vary your sentence structure. However, with analytical writing, you do want to make sure that you're avoiding the overuse of simple sentences in order to make sure that your argument's not becoming choppy. And at the same time, you need to pay attention to grammar and mechanics. There's no way you're going to be able to inform people they can't follow your argument due to poor grammatical or mechanical structures. Imagery is something that's discouraged in analytical writing. Remember that you're going to need to use logic or reasoning to explain an argument rather than turn it into a sensory experience. Notice that this is the opposite of creative writing where imagery is encouraged. Tone is another element of style where you're going to see a distinct difference between creative and analytical writing. So in creative writing, your tone should be highly revealing and even emotional. However, with analytical writing, you need to be scholarly and sensibly factual. So while Kincaid may have had some emotional intent behind her writing in Annie John, if you are analyzing Annie John, you want to make sure that you're finding quotes from the book and explaining factually how they would show the author's attitude. Now, during the last lecture, I explained that these were the heavy hitters of literary devices. So these are the literary devices that you're going to see a lot in the works that we're starting to read, and I explained to you how they should be used creatively. And when I discussed the use of these literary devices creatively, I told you that they were encouraged, that figurative language is something that engages the readers. However, with analytical writing, it is the opposite. Those literary devices are discouraged, that figurative language requires the reader to determine nuances and work for an interpretation. Remember, the point of analytical writing is for you to inform or explain. The reader doesn't want to have to work that hard. So what I have for you here is a quick review of the expectations when you do write analytically. I wanted to make sure I had all the different elements of style in one place for you because the bulk of the writing that you will be doing this year is analytical. Feel free to take a screenshot or hit pause and take notes on this if necessary. Hopefully now you have a good idea of what the expectations will be when you begin to write essays and discuss literature in writing in English class this year. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in class.